नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग इंडिया। नदियाँ जीवनदायिनी होती हैं। नदियाँ हमारी संस्कृति का अभिन्न हिस्सा हैं और बहुत ज़रूरी है कि इनके संरक्षण के प्रति हम सभी सजग हों। आज कार्यक्रम के दूसरे भाग में लगभग 5 बजे के बाद हम बातचीत करेंगे स्वच्छ गंगा पर। हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे श्री हितेश मखवाना, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर, नेशनल मिशन फॉर क्लीन गंगा। लेकिन आइए कार्यक्रम के पहले भाग में हम फोकस करते हैं टेक्नोलॉजी पर। आज ABCD की टेक्नोलॉजी इस प्रकार है: A आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, B ब्लॉकचेन टेक्नोलॉजी, टेक्नोलॉजी का C मतलब चैटबॉट, D डेटा एनालिटिक्स, सो ऑन सो फोर्थ। और पहले भाग में आइए आपको दूरदर्शन चेन्नई ले चलें, जहां पर हम जानने की कोशिश करेंगे कि आखिरकार इफेक्टिव गवर्नेंस के लिए आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस कैसे हमारी मदद कर सकती है। इस विषय पर बातचीत के लिए एक विशिष्ट पैनल हमारे साथ चेन्नई से जुड़ रहा है और उनसे बात कर रहे हैं मेरे सहयोगी डॉक्टर सुमंत रामन।
Hello. One of the areas of technology that promises to transform our lives over the next couple of decades is the area of artificial intelligence. In virtually every area of our daily life and activity, artificial intelligence is starting to play an increasing role. From areas like agriculture, healthcare, education, security, law and order, and of course governance too. So how exactly can artificial intelligence help ensure better governance? Last year the Government of India under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry set up a task force to actually study how artificial intelligence could have a positive impact. Today we have with us 3 members from the task force which was set up. The task force submitted its report a couple of months ago, and today we are going to be discussing with 3 members of the task force on how the use of artificial intelligence can help ensure better governance. Today in our studio we have with us Dr. Appa Rao, Professor Kamakoti and Mr. Madhusudan, members of the task force on artificial intelligence. Thank you sirs for joining us. Professor Kamakoti, if I could begin with you, in a very simple way, could you explain what concepts of artificial intelligence would actually help in ensuring can be utilized effectively for better governance?
Just very quick history of artificial intelligence. Yeah. If you look at artificial intelligence in the 80s, which was actually deployed as a product, they were basically rule based, right? If I satisfy certain parameters, then take this action.
Yeah.
One of the earliest intervention of artificial intelligence into human life was an intelligent washing machine,
yeah,
which actually regulates the amount of water flow depending upon the weight of the clothes you put in.
Yeah.
Then came the next step, where there was a technology which could aggregate data, which could collect data, which could store data in large volumes, and then based on what happened in the past, different patterns that have happened in the past, we could predict what could happen in the near future or currently. So that came out what we call as the machine learning, and this started say around 1990s, and it has been in place. Now with more and more data pouring because of say the social media, intervention of IoT techniques and all digital world that we are talking of, machine learning actually became a more predominant contributor to artificial intelligence. Yeah. For example, I could have health data from all government hospitals.
Yeah.
I could have traffic data from the roads. I could have irrigation data, water data from the reservoirs and this thing. I have the complete climate data that is available today. So, and I have many such data, like today we have Aadhaar, we have
yeah,
the fintech data, the PAN and other
yeah,
things. So every data can be effectively utilized for good governance. For example, suppose I have the data of how many users, how many mobile phones are connected to a particular tower. I don't need the actual mobile number.
Yeah.
That may be an intrusion into privacy.
Yeah.
But just I need the total number of mobile phones, and I collect it over a period of years from all the towers that are deployed in say every place with geo positioning, right? I have the latitude, longitude.
Okay.
Now over a year if I just calculate it, then I can just say that depending upon a particular day, right, it's a function. It can be a function which is on a particular region, right. I have some function for say
traffic is heavy.
So I can find out what's happening, and is it a normal traffic? For example, we have Arbati Mover in Kapalishwar temple. That day there will be a huge traffic there, but in a non traffic prone day, according to my analysis, I find a big crowd there. If I get more mobile, then I know something has gone wrong there. Or something
so you can use it for alerting.
Immediately
quickly.
I can take an alert for that. So this is one very, very interesting thing that could be very helpful for governance.
Now, Dr. Apparao, coming to specific areas, I mean, we've been hearing of different sectors where artificial intelligence can help, and I think one of the areas we heard was agriculture. They were talking about how it can help farmers to better plan their crop sowing and so on. So how does artificial intelligence help in actually helping the farmer?
I think it helps in a couple of ways. One is the planning itself. As the professor mentioned, we have the weather data, we have the monsoon when it is coming, as the reservoir, how much water is there, what is the salt, what is the soil type, what the seeds are available. With that, and what is the demand for a particular type of, I think you might have heard last few years we have pulses problem and all. So we can see the demand of the pulses and the grains. Then what we can do is, first thing is we can able to plan, and depending upon that the monsoon comes early or late and all, so that you have to change the crops. So one is you can plan that thing very effectively at the national level, as a policy level, and they can say that thing, okay, these are the seeds should use because monsoon delayed or it is early, and this is the soil type, and you get the yield, so that we can have the demand is there for that. That is the one thing. The second thing is to tell you, because as I told you, the agriculture is also becoming a software. One is there is a precision farming coming up in a big way. It is happening in US and other places, where with just 10% of the water, you can have the same yield. And in addition to that, one is you can put the you have a geo mapping, and you can map the whole area. Depending upon various things, one is what is the soil type, what is the moisture type, what are the diseases are there, what crop you have.
But are these actually being done even on at least on a small scale? Are experiments going on in India?
It's done in US and other places.
But what about India?
Tindibanam or something. They done a precision agriculture. They done 2 years. They have done it. I have to follow it up. What happened afterwards?
Yields are. Mr. Madhusudan, another area that we were talking about is health, and one of the potential big uses would be in healthcare, and that could help the government significantly, because that's a huge challenge for the government. Has any idea been mooted on how AI can be used in the healthcare space?
AI is probably one area where the government has been reasonably proactive, at least in terms of getting technology across, like telemedicine and all of that. But as we've been talking, there is a certain degree of resistance to technology in the healthcare sector. So we first have to figure out how to get past that barrier. A classic example is medical records are easily available now, but if you take any scan or a blood test report, an electronic form is not available. Electronic form would be PDF. It should be ideally be in an XBRL or an XML form, which can be digested by the computer. Right? For any data analytic system, you need data, and we have the data. So the data has to be curated, anonymized, and then there will be an exponential usage. Radiology systems now, I think, are on par with a human radiologist, probably even 2 to 3% better. Now, we don't have to replace radiologists. I don't think there's any job loss issue there. But if a radiologist can kind of correlate his or her findings with what the computer says, it will improve the quality of the diagnostics, right?
But I think that you brought up this question of job loss. Professor Kamakoti, one of the major concerns with artificial intelligence based technologies, and we've seen this with not identical area, but a somewhat connected area with robotics in the automotive industry, where we're having huge numbers of robots now being introduced into assembly lines, and that's happening right here in India now. So when we take this to people, the immediate concern is, what happens to my job? Will I lose my job because of these technologies? And that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of resistance. Is such a fear justified? Are people, right in saying that they could be replaced by these machines?
So, so there's a big paradigm, right? So, so one person said, I can do everything, right? So can you create a stone which you cannot lift? Right? So this is a big paradigm, right? So like that, can man create a machine which can be more intelligent than him? Then how do you define that intelligence?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a philosophical question. But then we have actually, as a part of our AI task force, we have actually one full dedicated section we have given dedicated for employment issues. Now, when we look at employment in AI, there are two distinct components. One component is about the IT, where there is going to be software written, embedded software written, and then part. There's going to be some amount of electronics which is around that IT. But then there is a huge amount of thing that we need to do, which is subject matter for it. For suppose I'm taking fintech, I need a lot of chartered accountants to basically sit and understand, bankers to come and give me the inputs of what rule, how to interpret, how to get the data, how to annotate the data, right? So even data interpretation and annotation itself is going to create more jobs, in my opinion, rather than taking away the job. Now, when we take to agriculture, right? Automation had into agriculture long back. I am an organic farmer from Tanjavur, right? So harvesters, even if I want manpower today to do harvesting, I don't get that manpower. Right? Harvesters have been in use. So suppose I have a tractor, right? Because of AI, it now becomes an intelligent tractor, but ultimately I need a person to drive it. If I bring in more robots, again I need people who will maintain these
those robots and maintain.
I'm going to put temperature sensor and pollution sensors across the city. I need people to maintain these pollution sensors. Right? Suppose I make a robotic machine to climb a coconut tree. It's a very hazardous job today. Now I need somebody to operate that coconut tree. So now I say that he now becomes a CTO, right? Coconut tree operator. Right? So he basically brings a mobile phone and he controls that entire equipment. So what we have done is we have taken many reports in the, you can go through the task force report. It's available publicly in the DIPP website. So we have taken many reports, and then we find actually that for the IT there can be some amount of interpretations that we can do, where we can predict what would be the reskilling required and what sort of new jobs will be introduced. But there is a bigger segment of 80% which is on the subject matter side, for which we need India specific models. So honestly speaking, we need to make a more detailed study on this. But intuitively we feel that people will start doing jobs that are much less mundane and that requires intelligence.
And people may not necessarily lose jobs as long as they get retrained in the newer technologies.
So one more simple example. So if you look at a bank, right? So we just looked at who is the most efficient employee in 80s? The person who could clear, say, some 100 checks a hour, right? Today, if I want them, I don't think anybody will be too excited to clear 100 checks a day, right? So today we want more analytics, a commerce with an analytics person who will come and look at how NPAs are moving. Should I give this loan?
No, in fact, you brought that point. I thought I'd take that up with Dr. Apparao. This question of using it in financial services, using artificial intelligence. Now, one of the major issues that we found is in the way NPAs get built up with banks. And some of it is actually collusion of bank officials knowing what's happening and allowing it to happen. Now, can artificial intelligence be used to sort of raise red flags much earlier and highlight the fact that somebody may actually be colluding and the NPAs may be getting built up?
Certainly, because actually these are all called fraud systems and all, which we are doing for the last actually 15 years. And with the available algorithms, I'm talking about 15 years, I myself done in 2000. So you can easily find out, depending upon the type of transaction, what are the people are handling the thing, who is taking the loan or whatever it is, and which bank and which branch. If you put all this data, certainly it can able to do it. That very easily can be done, and it is done by this thing. But the only thing is, whether the financial institutions are willing to deploy.
That brings us to the next question. I mean, are financial institutions, one, are they willing to share and exchange data? At some level they are. I mean, your credit risk and stuff like that does include data which is shared from multiple sources. But are banks and other financial institutions willing to collaborate and share data so that these red flags are highlighted earlier? Because we see in many of these systemic failures, it's not just one individual in one bank who has either colluded or failed at his job. It's a series of people in different institutions who all allowed this to happen.
Actually, if you look into the US, I think they have the credit system for the last 30-40 years. We don't have anything, so that we don't have history of the people. So unless the banking association or the financial organizations set up such type of thing, as rightly said, yes, somebody is a NPA and defaulter earlier and a willing defaulter, whatever it is, then that data can be used by other financial institutions, certainly. It is easy to deploy. Only thing is I think government has to, or government organization has to take initiative.
Yeah, we've got students here from IIT and a few other institutions here, and they are keen to ask the experts a few questions. Yes.
Hi, I'm Arjun from IIT Madras. So of course AI is coming in a big way, and it's going to be used in a lot of places, and that does bring the question of let's say if AI is being used in weapon systems or in defense.
There is actually a UN task force for effectively banning autonomous weapon systems. The chair of the task force is Dr. Amandeep Gill, who is our permanent representative to the Disarmament Conference. I might be actually be giving a talk there sometime in May or so. So there is an active world effort involved, just like in the CTBT treaty and banning chemical weapons. People in general agree that autonomous weapon systems, where the decision to kill or attack should not be left to a machine. But how to go about it, what kind of regulations, there is active work going on. So I don't think anybody has made a case saying that you need AI based weapons. People are saying we should not have AI based weapons, but to what degree we can limit them. See, the classical example is if you got a drone, it sees something, do you give it the permission to shoot? You don't. But if you just have a surveillance drone and it spots some things and it makes a mistake either deliberately or intentionally, and it designates a target, but the target is attacked by a human piloted aircraft. So
you get the best of both.
No, where do you draw the line that becomes
no, because eventually it's going to be the human who's going to take that call, but you're saying he takes that call based on what the drone
the gap goes even further. 3,000 plus engineers in Google have protested, written to Sundar Pichai, because Google is providing just analytical data for the US Department of Defense for just image thing. You're talking offline. Even that is considered an ethical breach for a lot of people. Debate needs to be there. We will draw some lines. Where the line would be, I don't know, but there is active debate happening.
Good. Yeah. Who's next?
Hello, I'm Vinod from IIT Madras. So as he was talking about, it's more like a malignant manifestation of artificial intelligence. So what I would like to ask is more benign, like it is not long within which we'll see image synthesis and voice synthesis being actively developed. So in that sense, there will be a proliferation of fake news, like where you will not be able to identify whether the voice is developed by an intelligent system or is it actually from the one who is talking. There will be a proliferation of fake news, and should there be regulations?
That's a very, very tricky question. So the earliest intervention of AI was that, can I generate a random research paper?
Okay.
Right? There has been an effort on that.
Okay.
So how do you distinguish between a random research paper and a real research paper, right? So the challenge here would be that how effective can I basically bring the human voice to the synthetic voice, or bring the synthetic voice to the human voice, and how effectively today I can make the picture, a cloned picture, a mutated picture, as close to a normal picture, right? So where AI can basically help is to basically predict how the pixels are going to be arranged, what should be the coloration,
Yeah.
depending upon looking at several natural pictures and bringing that together. And as this technology goes, yes, it is going to be increasingly difficult for us to make a clear distinction. And that has a larger implication on the Evidence Act, right? So can I accept this photo as an evidence?
Yeah.
Can I accept this voice as an evidence? And this is going to become a very big
challenge going
also.
forward.
You're not touching this one problem. See, ultimately, all information is transient and doctorable. Okay.
Yep.
With technology, it's always a losing battle. It's a question of how long you can prolong it. You're talking about DNA tests and all that. It's not about faking DNA. Once I start creating synthetic DNA, somebody fakes my DNA, and a child is born of that. Who is the parent?
Yeah, you do a DNA typing and it comes back identical. Yeah, I mean the possibilities are just mind-boggling. We'll go to the next question.
The decisions taken by AI devices, the failure rate of decisions is one thing, and vulnerability is completely different. I once came across a news. It predicted that first crime that is going to be committed using autonomous cars is 2018. It will happen in 2018. So is there a need for formal security standards to be set up by government?
Okay.
Yeah, I think a very good question on standards.
Right. So, yeah, of course, there are regulations like how we have for a normal vehicle, human driven vehicle, there are going to be regulations. There should be more regulations on how these systems are going to be built. And since it is going to be software driven, then I have to look at, the verification from 2 points. See, I have a design specification. This is how the car should work. Whether this software and the hardware system I have put together adheres to that. And more interestingly, the other part is, will it not do what I have not stated there?
Yeah.
That's a bigger question to answer. And the more important, just drilling down, today, suppose an accident has happened, and I wanted to find out whether it was an brake failure. Today, when we look at normal accident today, was it a brake failure or a human error? Or what is the cause of this accident? When we know, let us say having an autonomous car, I need to go and explain the behavior of that system, of why it made such a decision and to create this accident.
Yeah.
Right? Now, one of the biggest drawbacks in current deep learning mechanisms is that I can't basically come out with an explainable behavior. Right? It is just I have a neural network inside and it makes a decision, makes a classification, and just say this is how it has to work. Why it made that classification, to drill down is going to be extremely difficult. So, if an accident happens, right, whether 2018 there's going to be a crime happening on it, we hope it doesn't happen. But if an accident happens, whether it's a crime or it is a failure of the system, that explainable behavior is going to be extremely complex.
It's going to be
and we have
difficult,
to
complex.
So, people have asked for explainability standards in AI, and mental illnesses in AI is becoming a formal field, because when you start building complex systems, they will start demonstrating pathologies.
Yes.
Yeah, I think as Professor mentioned, just I want to add, one of the things when they are designing the autonomous systems, autonomous car, is the vehicle has to protect the driver or the person on the street, how it decides and all. So, we have to make this type of ethical questions will come, because as far as the car is concerned, it has to protect the driver or the passengers, but what will happen to the pedestrians? So, those things will come up and all. The second thing also, as the Professor mentioned, audit trail and all, why it has taken a decision and all, can be able to. So, I think these are the things.
Lots of questions to answer. Madam, last question. Yes.
I'm Ratna Sathapan. This is a more basic question on AI. You said it will replace mundane jobs and it will create jobs that require a lot of skill and training. So there's a need for specialized training. So most of our population in India doesn't have access to this specialized training. So what about their scenario?
Okay.
I mean, their perspective for job search or?
Sure. So, today, if you look at the proliferation of mobile phone, right, every villager in my village, which is sort of really rural, has an access to the mobile phone. Nobody actually taught them how to use the mobile phone, right? They have learnt it. So, I also tell my students, if they want a manual for a tool, a chip design tool, yeah, I give you a mobile phone, one day night you are able to master it. I am giving you a tool which will be helpful for your life. Why do you need a manual for it? Okay, so that's the question. So when we look at reskilling, it is certainly within their domain. For example, I want somebody to go and start using a motor pump that could be activated by a sensor, right? Lot of things he knows about the motor pump. This reskilling is a smaller component which can be easily connected to the work which he is already doing, right? So it is not going to be a conceptually a very different, very specialized, out of the earth, out of rocket stuff, right? It is that I have been doing this. Now these are all the things that could be done faster, could be done smarter. Now take this input and do it smarter. I think it is going to work very nicely. Today, for example, another thing I could tell in rural India today, solar systems, right? Today the best maintenance come in my village, come in the villages. People have mastered the art of putting a solar panel, getting it to the inverter, yeah, connecting the inverter, diverting it, giving back to the grid.
Absolutely.
They mastered it. All +2 pass people who just got the system downloaded, and then they have mastered it. So I don't think there is a need for that fear that training would be a difficult. Training will be a natural consequence because they have already worked on these systems.
And this is just a small extension of the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, to tell you, I think there is a group called usability technology. So over the years they mastered and all, depending upon the target audience. The system can be built it, and also the user can able to use the system with very, very less difficulty. So these technologies are available. There is absolutely no problem with it.
I think it's where we started off with maybe a few areas, and then we went all over to so many different disciplines where AI can have a role. It's been absolutely fascinating talking to the three of you. Now I think the ball would squarely be in the court of the government in terms of taking the recommendations of this artificial intelligence task force, the recommendations which were released in January, and taking it to the next stage in terms of creating the necessary infrastructure in the form of a test bed, creating the committee that would oversee the interaction with the various ministries, and of course taking this to the next level, so that, as Professor Kamakoti said, over the next 6 to 8 months, at least the basis of the basic structure of taking artificial intelligence to the next level to create a more effective governance could actually happen in India. Thank you all of you for joining us today. Thank you also for the students who have come in today, and we hope you enjoyed watching this very, very interesting program on artificial intelligence.